Hello and welcome again to another Keystone Film Review. This time I'm going to be talking about The French Dispatch, directed by Wes Anderson, starring Benicio del Toro, Adrian Brody, Tilda Swinton, Léa Seydoux, Frances McDormand, Timothée Chalamet, Jeffrey Wright, Steve Park, Bill Murray, Owen Wilson, Bob Balaban, a whole bunch of people. Henry Winkler's in there. It is the latest in Wes Anderson's filmography, and Wes Anderson is one of those directors that you either love or you hate. There are very few people that are in between. I fall into the camp that I used to hate him. I used to fall into that camp. But then once I saw Darjeeling Limited, something just clicked in my head and I finally kind of got his unique style. I went back and revisited all of his films. And that's when I really started to appreciate his work. I wouldn't say I'm obsessed with him, but I really do love his films, particularly The Grand Budapest Hotel, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and those such films. This one is it's an anthology, so it is not a continuous story. It is all based around this magazine that is published in France specifically for the citizens of Liberty, Kansas. It's a fictitious magazine, of course. So it follows four or five disconnecting stories. So you kind of have to go in with that in mind. When I was walking out, I actually heard someone that was in the same theater as me say that they hate it. They hated it because it was all over the place and none of the stories connected, which is kind of the point of an anthology. They connect in a very minor way. In this case, all take place in Ennui, France, which might be a fictitious city. I found this film to be the best display of Wes Anderson's masterful set pieces in a way. It's not his best film in my opinion. I really don't think he'll top Grand Budapest Hotel anytime soon or ever. But with the set pieces in this film, it really captured that style that he has, which is kind of like the feeling of a stage production but on film. Everything being front and center, and the blocking being really staged and everything unrealistic in that sense. And that's why a lot of people don't like him. It's too staged and everything, but it's one of the things I love most about him, which is weird because Darjeeling Limited is one of his least manicured films in that sense. So I can't explain that to you. I can't even begin to explain why that was the one that kind of made things click. This has three main stories. The first one being Benicio del Toro and Léa Seydoux, Adrian Brody, their story, which is about a convicted murderer in the prison in France becoming a world-renowned artist. And if I'm honest, that was probably my favorite of the three stories. You always got to start out with a good one. It kind of continues and then goes into the one with Timothée Chalamet, Frances McDormand, which is about a student revolution in France. And then the final one follows Jeffrey Wright as he is a writer following the kidnapping of a police lieutenant's son. The stories aren't meant to connect much at all. So to hate a film for the very reason that it exists is kind of weird to me. While this is an anthology, it contains Wes Anderson's unique writing style and his wit, if you will, where things are surrealist on purpose, where people act in ways that aren't really natural, and it just works in the worlds of his film, and this one is no exception. I found it very humorous. Because it's an anthology and doesn't have one connecting dramatic story, it really let him explore the comedy of certain circumstances. It's really just a fun film that you can tell that they all enjoyed making. And the stories themselves are unique and do kind of feel like three separate stories that you would read within a magazine, which is the whole point of this film. So they really succeeded in that sense. Like I said, it's not my favorite of his films. It's maybe middle range. I don't know. I'd have to revisit all of his films. But it is, if you're a fan of Wes Anderson, you will most likely enjoy this. If you're not a fan of him, if you don't like his style, you definitely will not like it. But if you're kind of on the fence about it, you just need to go in with a mindset that it is not one connecting story. I would rate this probably a 3.5 out of 5. Some of the sequences were weaker than others. Some went on longer than they should have. And it really made, especially towards the end of the film, you're kind of like, let's wrap this up. But it has a lot of really strong moments. The visuals, of course, with Wes Anderson are always really fun. The set pieces are immaculate. It's just a really fun movie to kind of watch and see how he did things. It's a cool film to study exactly how his set pieces work. So, fans of Wes Anderson are really going to like this. So if you saw French Dispatch, let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next review. Bye.